Last time we met, we discussed how to create meaningful health goals, how to gain a growth mindset. We talked about the basics of habit layering and overcoming obstacles when it comes to creating wellness goals. But today we're going to take a different approach to changes for life, and we're going to talk about blue zones and how to create a culture of wellness in your home and with loved ones, friends, and family. So, since this series was all about finding the true meaning behind wellness, I want to share with you some secrets to a long and healthy life. And one of the best resources for longevity was discovered in the Blue Zones research. So, if you have heard of Blue Zones before, please put in the chat, what do you know about Blue Zones? So the Danish twin study was actually a study of thousands of biological twins, and within them they found that 80% of how long we live is dependent on how we live, and 20% of our health is determined by genetics and access to healthcare. We tend to think it's swapped, but 80% of how long we live is how we are actually living. So, the Blue Zones team of medical researchers, anthropologists, epidemiologists wanted to know more about how people in these areas live and how we can incorporate that into our lives so that we can live our longest healthy lives possible. So, we're going to talk about each of these. So, here are the Blue Zones throughout the world. And what's nice seeing these is that they're not all in one place generally. So that makes it a little bit more hopeful that we can take on some of these habits and things that they're doing right, because it's not just one place in the Mediterranean or one place um, in Asia. They're happening all over the world. So let's start with Greece. So Icaria is an island in Greece, and this is where the people living there are free of dementia and many chronic diseases that plague Americans. It's actually 1 in 3 Icarians are living to 90 years old. And they are calling this a place where people forget to die. And if I was living here and this is what I was seeing every day too, I would definitely forget to die. So people here are eating foods that are where they're eating fruits and vegetables. They're drinking lots of red wine. They are having Mediterranean foods like olive oil and couscous, and they're having low amounts of meat in these areas too. And they move their bodies by gardening, walking their neighborhoods, working in the yard. And Koreans foster social connections by they're known for playing dominoes late into the night and drinking red wine with friends. And this, they say, is their secret to overall health and longevity. And we'll dive deeper into each one of these. Okay. Oh, let me pull up my chat box just in case I see anything in there. We have sounds like my kind of lifestyle. Yes, Pamela. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Okay, our next blue zone is in Italy. It's Sardinia. So Sardinia is home to the oldest men in the world. They live in a mountainous region where they typically hunt, fish, they farm, and they harvest strong family values. And the majority of food that they eat in this area is whole grains, and they actually celebrate their older populations. And they even greet each other with the phrase akantanos, which means I hope you live to be 100. So that's how they greet each other when they say hello, when they say goodbye. Again, these pictures of these places are absolutely incredible. Okay, now we travel to Japan in Okinawa. So Okinawa is home to the world's oldest women. And in this place, they are known as the land of the immortals. And the biggest secret to their longevity is their strong social connections, which they call moai. And this is actually a lifelong circle of friends that supports one another well into old age. It's when they studied this region, they found that their support system of friends was typically 5 people that they have known since they were 10 years old into they were 90 years old, which would be absolutely incredible. And in this area too, they primarily eat purple sweet potatoes. It's actually 40% of their diet are these purple sweet potatoes. And they also have soy-based foods and they practice Tai Chi in the sunshine. And so you can see that within this photo right here. All right. So heading back to the west side of the world to the Nicoya Peninsula, which is in Costa Rica. They live by the phrase plan de vida, or reason to live, which propels a positive outlook among elders and helps keep them active. Another is a focus on family and special ability to listen and laugh. So Nicoyan centennials, they frequently visit with their neighbors and they tend to live with their families and children or grandchildren until they die. So they don't go to rest homes like we do here in the US. They stay with their family, which in the Blue Zone research, they found that this has contributed to a high purpose in life and a reason for their longevity. And the Nicoyan diet contains a superfood meal called the Three Sisters, and you may have heard of this before. The Three Sisters are squash, beans, and corn, and this combination creates a complete nutritional profile. With the corn, we have carbohydrates, beans that are rich in protein and fiber, and squash, we have vitamins and healthy fats. All right. And then here in the US, we actually have our very own Blue Zone. And it's with the Seventh-day Adventists of Loma Linda, California. So this is a highly religious group of people, and the majority of their meals are fruits and vegetables. And they also live in tight-knit communities where they find time for prayer and reflection every single day. And I find this one especially fascinating because it's here in the US, but they live about 10 years longer than the average American. Oh, and Jane, let's try and see if we can hear you if you want to say something. No, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep, there we go.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, there we go. We figured it out. I was having some issues. Sorry about that.
Oh, no prob. Okay, so we have introduced you to all of the different, whoops, let's go back here, to the 5 different blue zones throughout the world. And so when the researchers studied these areas for 10 years, they developed a Power 9, which is the evidence-based common denominators that all of these blue zone researchers discovered. So they took everything from these 5 regions, created a 9 principles of wellness that they call the Power 9, and that's what they say is the secret to the longevity and for these people living well into their 90s and even to 100 years old. So, of course, we're going to go through each of these 9 and then talk about how we can incorporate them into our lives, even though we don't live in a blue zone. And the first one is move naturally. So moving naturally throughout your day, we talked about in Greece that they are walking, gardening, doing housework. In the Nicoya Peninsula, people are spending the majority of their days cooking, and that is their form of movement. They are also farming and harvesting all of their crops. And so I found this especially interesting because when I looked at the average American's activity minutes per day, it is actually 17 minutes according to the CDC. So the average American is getting 17 minutes of activity per day. In blue zones, fitness is built into their lives, right? Through the different chores that they are doing, through the activities they're doing when they're socializing with friends, they have built it into their lifestyle. And they even found that the centenarians in these blue zones, which are the 100-year-olds, that live in these environments that they are nudged to move every 2 minutes or every 20 minutes based on their lifestyle. So whether it's they need to um, go to the next house chore, or if they need to walk to the market, or if they're visiting a neighbor or friend, their lifestyle just promotes movement every 20 minutes. And in the United States, we are getting 17 minutes of activity per day. So I have listed here some ideas of how we could incorporate movement throughout our days here in living in Utah, working primarily desk jobs from 8 to 5. But I want to hear from you. So put in the chat box, what are some ways that we can incorporate movement throughout our day? And I can read my list here to you as you're brainstorming. But we have walking our neighborhoods, gardening, yard work, moving during our meetings, biking to work or during our lunch breaks, play games in the yard, take advantage of Utah by hiking, biking, skiing, making a snowman, snowshoeing, and then, of course, when you have holiday celebrations, incorporating movement into those. I mean, it's a little bit easier in the summer, right, to play lawn games or go swimming, but maybe in the wintertime we could at least be playing charades and getting up off um, the couch, or we could do some of these things like building a snowman, like we talked about, or going sledding. But looks like we have some things
Love that.
here in the chat box. Jane, do you mind reading those for
Yes,
me?
absolutely. So we have parking farther away. I love that one, especially, you can apply it to everything. Walking my dogs, taking the stairs, walking while on a business call, taking groceries in one bag at a time, doing outdoor activities as a family.
These are fabulous. Yes, so
They are.
finding ways to move throughout your day rather than, okay, I did my 1 hour workout or my 30-minute workout, I'm good. But taking lessons from these people, I mean, we talk about with the CDC that the CDC always recommends 150 minutes of moderate activity per week. But that's just to fight off chronic disease. But if we want to go beyond that, if we want to live well into our 80s, 90s, possibly 100, we need to do more by having more movement throughout our days, just beyond our scheduled exercise or physical activity, whatever you call it. We need to find ways to add more movement throughout our day and get ourselves to be nudged to move every 20 minutes. That way we can live
Yeah,
to be
I
100
love
years
that.
old.
I also think it's important to note house chores as an everyday
Mhm.
activity. Those are no joke. Like if you are going up and down your stairs a few times a day and like mentally making note like, oh, I'm going to go back downstairs and go back upstairs. Like you're building muscle that way and it's great movement to take the stairs even within your own home. So
And
just
then it
house
becomes a
chores
habit.
are huge. Yeah,
Yeah. Then it
totally.
becomes a habit, it becomes your way of life. You're looking for more ways to move. I like how, yeah, you put in here walking while on a business call. So if you have this perspective throughout the day, like I'm going to move as much as I possibly can. Maybe it's during this workshop. You're like, she's telling me to move. Even just standing up while you're listening to us and stretching your arms or things like that could be a way to move naturally throughout your day.
Absolutely. It's a forward thinking approach.
Okay, the next one, number two of the Power Nine, is purpose. And we have the Okinawans they call it Ikigai. And this is, and the Nicoyans call it the plan de vida that we talked about. So knowing why you're waking up in the morning makes you healthier, makes you happier, and it can add up to 7 years to your life expectancy. And for most of us, it can be pretty difficult to find what our purpose is. And it tends to change as you experience life and go through different stages of life. And purpose is ever evolving and remembering it's as unique to you as your fingerprint. So many people seem to believe that purpose arises from either your special gifts that set you apart from other people, but that's not necessarily the truth. It can grow from your connection to others. Um, we can find purpose in crisis. We can find through connection, and that actually is a huge part of why Americans lack purpose is we're typically isolated. So we talked about in Okinawa that they have this group of 5+ friends that they're close to throughout their life. In the US, it's typically 1 to 2. And so you could see how that can make you feel socially isolated, especially as you get into older age. And if those 1 to 2 people aren't close to you, or perhaps they pass away, then there goes your social connections, right? So I have listed some here, some ideas of how you could find your purpose if you're struggling. I definitely do struggle with this. Just, I'm often thinking, well, what is my purpose? I don't necessarily know. It changes, or I don't know. Sometimes, like, people like to think of it as their passions or careers and those things too. But for me, I have actually come to the conclusion after creating this PowerPoint was my purpose is to find purpose. I'm going to spend my life finding out the reason why I'm here. It's kind of meta, but that is what has helped me. But I have some other suggestions for you if you are struggling with this and need to find more purpose in your life. And the first one is reading. So when you are reading, you find empathy and you actually have creative thinking happening because you're putting yourself in the shoes of the characters that you're reading about. It connects you to people across different times, different places, different cultures, and that helps you create your own sense of purpose by seeing yourself as the antagonist of these books that you're reading. So that could be one way to discover it. Volunteering always comes up when we're talking about purpose because when you give back to your community and to others, it helps you find why you're here. It helps you build that part of yourself that is empathetic, that is looking for a bigger purpose beyond yourself. I have something in the chat.
Yeah, Mary says, many times when I feel disconnected with life, I realize I need to volunteer wherever I can, and I look for different ways of volunteering. I love that. It's a matter of almost service with volunteering, looking for ways or looking outside yourself to connect with others through service or through volunteering opportunities. That's a great way to fill your life with purpose and meaning. Thank you for that comment.
And Mary, if you want to share in the chat the places that you have found really fun to volunteer at, would love to hear if other people want to join that. And then even beyond volunteering is exploring the things that are interesting to you. So we just talked about in the Okinawa community, they have this idea called Icaria, and which means following your joy. So they find that their purpose in life and the reason for waking up is to just participate in the things that bring you joy, that spark your interest, that you see as a passion, and that helps connect you to your personal self and to find that purpose. And so that leads into the next one with discovering passions. And so finding if you need to join a club when it comes to discovering passions, or if you like to just read about it or participate or share what you've learned about your passions to other people, that can be a big way to incorporate more purpose into your life. And then lastly, I have listed here is gratitude. So studies have found that practicing gratitude strengthens a person's sense of purpose. And we talk about this so much, right? We talk about gratitude journals with self-care. We talk about gratitude's one of the pillars to mental health. And that's because it helps shed light on things in your life that provide you meaning, right? So if you're having a hard time finding purpose in your life, if you're writing down each day 3 things that you're grateful for, then maybe those are the things we dedicate our purpose and our time into. Okay, the next one is called downshifting. So this is number 3 of our Power 9. And downshifting is exactly what this picture looks like. That's why I don't have too much on this side or on this slide. So downshifting, so people in blue zones, they suffer from stress just like everyone else. I know it's hard to believe by looking at those photos of where they were living before that they're experiencing stress, but they do as well. And people living in blue zones, they actually have daily rituals to reduce this stress and reverse the inflammation that happens within our bodies when we experience stress. It's a part of life, And the centenarians have stress relieving rituals built into their lives, just like they have activity built into their lives. So I can share some of those with you. So the Seventh-day Adventists of Loma Linda, California, they pray as a way to decrease their stress. The Icarians, they nap. I really like that one. That's one I'm going to incorporate today. The Sardinians, they get together with loved ones for happy hour, and that's a way that they downshift and decrease their stress. This one seems to be the most interesting to me. With the Okinawans, it was described in the Blue Zone research. I'll just read it to you verbatim. It says, a hardship temper attitude has endowed the Okinawans with an infallible smugness. They're able to let difficult early years remain in the past while they enjoy today's simple pleasures. I love that. A hardship tempered attitude with an infallible smugness. Absolutely love that. It was almost like they were stubborn about being in the moment. They were stubborn about letting stress go. They have learned to be likable and to keep younger people in their company well into old age. So, we've heard some examples from the blue zones of how they decrease stress by downshifting. Based on what you've heard, how can you incorporate downshifting into your life? Put some ideas in the chat box. We have meditate daily. Absolutely. And meditate daily, that doesn't need to be 30 minutes. You can do it for 3 minutes. You can do it like we talked about last time with a habit you already have. If you drink coffee in the morning, sitting down while you drink your coffee and being in the moment and meditating.
Yeah, I love that. We have getting lost in a good book,
Hmm.
deep breathing exercises.
Yes,
We have praying.
absolutely. You could journal too.
Yeah, for sure.
And based on the Blue Zone research, this should be happening every day. So finding things that you enjoy to downshift every day. And if you're thinking, I don't have time to downshift, again, starting with something small. If it's 1 minute of being in your backyard and taking in everything with all of your senses. What are you smelling? What do you see? What do you hear? And breathing. If it's, oh, perfect, Crystal. Taking a walk, listening to music, mindfulness, being intentional with our downshift. Sometimes I think even if, like, oh, I'm going to take a walk during my lunch break, but then we put our headphones in and we're listening to a podcast while I'm texting, while I'm doing this. We're doing so many things at once all the time that we're actually adding more stress rather than simply doing one thing at a time, just taking that walk or just listening to that podcast. Or if
I
you're
agree,
texting,
Sadie.
just texting that person. But we usually are doing at least 5 things at one time these days.
Always. That's always how it works. I never thought that I would find this so calming, but um, every night I water my plants. And so I just like I don't I don't have any distractions. I just go out and it seems so silly, but I just like connect with my plants. I'll water them and it just gives me a chance to be grateful for what I have and for my day and express gratitude and think, which is who knew that that would become something that I connect with. But it's cool.
Yeah. If it takes like
In the
five
chat,
minutes.
yeah,
Hmm.
or you can lengthen it or shorten it or whatever
Hmm.
you do. But I always feel so much better after I water my plants because I take that time. In the chat, we have stop and have thoughts of gratitude for a moment. Someone likes to soak their feet. Reading aloud to kids is meditative for sure, or singing to them, right? They're so sweet and innocent. So it's fun to keep things into perspective.
And some of these things we do naturally because we enjoy them, right? But I like with the blue zones that they do them intentionally, right? Again, going back to moving intentionally, to purposely finding what your, meaning is in this life, and then purposely downshifting. Patty says you can take any chore and turn it into a pleasure by your mindset. Thanks, Patty. I think you're so right. And then it's also opportunity for gratitude, right? With any chore. If you're doing laundry, I'm so happy that I am able to clothe myself. Or if it's cold outside, I'm so happy I have clothes that keep me warm. If it's dishes, oh, I'm so happy I have food in my belly. I think exactly. Chores can be the moments for gratitude.
Didn't we learn that from Mary Poppins? Snap, the job's a game, right? Just put a little sugar on it and you can do
Mhm.
anything. I love that, Patty. It's all about your mindset.
Now we're going to turn over the remainder of the Power Nine to Jane.
Yes, I love what we've talked about so far, and it really just gives you a chance to settle into the way that you're feeling and what you're doing and how you can improve um, to live longer, better. And the next thing we're going to talk about is the 80% rule. So we've talked about this in workshops previous, but it's people in blue zones, they stop eating when their stomachs are about 80% full. So they really tune into their hunger and fullness cues, which we've talked about, and that's one of the principles of intuitive eating. And these areas have found that um, they eat a larger meal for breakfast, and they eat, not, or their biggest meal at breakfast, and then their medium-sized meal at lunch, and then at dinner, they eat less amounts of food. And when you think about that, it makes sense because your energy throughout the day, right? You need to fuel yourself at the beginning of your day so that you have the energy that you need to move and to complete your tasks and your chores and your work day. And same with lunch, right? You're not quite done for the day. You've got to give yourself the energy and the fuel that you need to complete those tasks. And then when dinner comes around, um, that's kind of when you start to wind down. You fuel your body still. You eat until you're 80% full, but you're not, overeating into the fact that you're uncomfortable and, your stomach is completely maxed out. So that's interesting that they really look at food as fuel and to provide them with the nutrients that they need throughout their day. And, honoring your hunger and fullness allows your body to be in charge. So it's just tuning into what your body needs when it needs it. And number 5 for the Power 9 is the plant slant. So as you see in these blue zone areas throughout the world, this kind of gives us an idea of what types of foods that they're eating. So you see in Greece, they 20% of their diets of what they eat are vegetables. And you see 17% of that is green, or another 17% is green. So you can kind of see the types of foods that they eat. They're eating more whole grain foods and just, whole foods in general. So lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, lots of beans, whole grains, and meat is eaten in small amounts. And one of my favorite parts of the Blue Zone research is that people in each of these areas are eating a variety of different foods, right? They're accepting food as food, and food is fuel, and it's good for you, and it should be enjoyed, and it's an experience. And they're really tapping into this idea of the satisfaction factor when it comes to food, right? You eat until you're satisfied. You eat for fun and for the joy of eating, and that it gives you the energy that you need to continue on with, your tasks and your chores and your day. So it's I think that's one of the keys here with the blue zones is that they really do look at food as fuel, and they eat a variety of different foods um, that are providing them with nutrients and for the joy of eating with flavor and satisfaction. So we can incorporate that within our own homes and within our own communities of eating and focusing on food as fuel, but focusing on food as um, an enjoyment, um, allowing us to gather with people that that we love and that we love to spend time with. And it really is an experience, which is great.
I just love that they're not the same, right? You
Yeah,
would, because we talked about right throughout this entire series that diets necessarily don't work, right? There's not one diet out there that's going to make you the healthy and the happiest, right? And this is a perfect example of that. These are areas where we're seeing low disease and we're seeing people living well into their 90s and to 100, but they're not eating the same. I mean, if you compare Nicoya Peninsula with 26% whole grains, 24% dairy, over to Loma Linda, that's 33% vegetables, 27% fruits, right? They're not doing it in the same way. But what the overarching message here is that they're eating real food.
yeah, I love that, Sadie. And they're not sticking to a strict you
Hmm.
can and cannot eat diet, right? They have
Hmm.
ditched that mentality and they're eating foods that are real, like you said, but also for enjoyment, and it's a part of their their culture. And I
Hmm.
think we can do that too, where we just don't focus on what you can and can't have, but more what is satisfying, what is nutritious, what is good, what is going to make me feel my best.
Hmm.
So it goes back to what we've talked about for this whole series of there's no right way, one right way to do it. If we just focus on what tastes good, what feels good, what helps us along, what is good for our bodies, we'll get to that spot that makes us healthy and makes us feel our best. Awesome. So the next one we're going to talk about is wine at 5 p.m. and um, moderate but regular consumption of wine with friends and or food is part of blue zone lifestyle. So even if you don't drink wine, the principle here still applies. Winding down at the end of a long day has proven to have positive health benefits. And we talked about this with downshifting, right? It's and there's an element to this wine at 5 p.m. after you've finished your day that allows you to just decompress and allows you to connect with those that you love and those um, that you care most about. And I think um, with this point, it's important to recognize that it's about savoring the good things in life, right? There's a savor aspect of this power point, that when you take time to just savor the little things with the people that you love most, you instantly feel better. There's a gratitude that is expressed that connects you with those that you love, and you have that shared commonality, which is so great. So, wine at 5 simply means doing something for you at the end of the day that helps you savor life and savor the good things in life. Like for me, I don't drink wine, but I love dark chocolate. And so for me, at the end of the day, once I put my baby in bed, I enjoy a few dark chocolate covered raspberries. And that for me is like I'm savoring the good things in life. And I think that's really what it comes down to. So I want to hear from you guys. Put in the chat, what are some ways that you savor the good things in life? Sadie, what about you? How do you savor the good things?
Mine is wine. And,
Good.
what's cool though, when I was doing all this research was in Greece and Italy, they were making their own wine that they were savoring with their families. Loma Linda, California, they don't, or the Seven-Day Adventists there, they don't drink alcohol, but they still had that idea, like you said, that they're doing something for them at the end of the day. But for me, yeah, it would be a nice glass of wine.
Yeah, with Ben, right?
Hmm.
With the
Hmm.
person that you love most. And
Exactly.
I'm seeing in the chat we have a small bowl of ice cream. I love it. You're speaking the language. Lori colors. Julia has a glass of wine as well. So Sadie, you and Julia can hook up and have a little glass. And then Nancy says, really look and take pictures of random things as I'm walking. That's cool. I like that. It makes you enjoy or just be more mindful about your walk. And Ricky said the same thing. He likes evening walks. I love that. Thank you for sharing, you guys. It's the little things. Just try and savor the little things, right? Or the big things, whatever. Just savor life because we only get one life. And then the next point is belonging. So being a part of faith-based communities add about 4 to 14 years of life expectancy onto your life. And that's something that has been found within these 5 areas of blue zones is that these individuals have a sense of belonging. They're a part of a community that is, based off of faith. And whether that's religious or not, they feel a greater sense of purpose and belonging because of the communities in which they're a part of. So, along with that is research shows that belonging to a faith-based community can actually be a protective factor amongst individuals who are having thoughts of suicide or other mental and emotional health conditions. So that's another good part about having a sense of belonging to a faith-based community. It provides individuals with purpose and connection. But it's important to note, like I mentioned before, that faith-based communities don't necessarily have to be religious. Finding a sense of purpose and belonging amongst a group of people has the potential to increase your lifespan, add years onto your life because you have this sense of connection with other people who believe what you believe or are, you have that purpose, that commonality that brings you together and
And
connects you
this
together.
Yeah, I think it was really cool because they found it within the faith-based communities that they had a sense of belonging, but we can create that. We can create that with our pickleball groups. I think we can create that here at the county, right? Within your own departments or your own team, because every single job here at the county serves a bigger purpose for our community and to make our county a better place. And this could be your place of belonging too. So I like how you pointed that out, Jane, that it doesn't necessarily have to be the faith-based. We just learned it from these areas. So finding whatever it is, if it's your knitting group, your jewelry making group, like I said, pickleball, whatever it is that you can feel like you belong to.
Yes, thank you for saying that, Sadie. I think this is a huge piece to the puzzle because feeling like you belong somewhere, it really just it gives you this feeling of comfort or connection, and it makes you feel like you're not alone and you have someone in your corner backing you up. So just really like if you're struggling to feel like you belong, first of all, know that you always have you can always reach out. And Healthy Lifestyles, we're a team that is here to love on you and to give you a place where you feel like you belong. We're great listeners and we can connect with anybody. So you let us, we're your friend. Um, and then the next thing that I want to talk about in the Power Nine is loved ones first. And first of all, I love the picture of the dolphins. It just makes me so happy and it makes me want to just be in Hawaii or something. But um, in these blue zone areas, they have found that having close and strong family connections with your spouses, your partner, parents, grandparents, grandchildren, this legacy or this heritage of family is so common among blue zones and individuals who are, 100 and plus years old. Strong family connections are vital in blue zones. They ensure that everyone in the family, young and old, is cared for and loved. And I think we can learn a lot from that. Um, Children check in on their parents. Um, Children check in on their elderly parents. Grandchildren pay daily visits to their grandparents. And often the seniors of the family, so grandparents, great grandparents, they live with um, their children and grandchildren. And so they connect every day. And living together or spending time together offers this healthy advantage for the entire family, especially the older elders within the family. And the seniors can get immediate care when they need it, which is nice when they live together. Um, and it's also important to note that children, they play a big part in making sure that chores are taken care of. And, everybody has a job and everybody's job matters and it contributes to the overarching theme of everyone is taken care of. And it seems that America is kind of moved into the opposite direction, right? Once you turn 18, I'm out of here. Like, I don't want to live with my parents anymore. I'm done. I got to live on my own, and our schedules are jam packed all day. We can't fit in time for cooking a good meal or getting our exercise or movement in. Um, but when we think about it, these blue zone areas, they're all about, living at home and taking time to connect with each other, making the meals together. Moving is incorporated within their day, and they've seen proven health benefits of connection and purpose when we do these things. And so I want to hear from you guys. How can connecting with your loved ones, what are some ways that you can incorporate connecting with your loved ones throughout your day? So whether that's going on a walk together at the end of the day, eating family dinner, do you let your children help you with dinner? If so, do they like it? Are they learning skills that are going to last them forever? Do you take family bike rides together? What do you do? Throw it into the chat.
And while they're doing that, I can share too is even something as simple as we have my grandma, her sister, my cousin, my mom, we're all in a group chat and we send just cute pictures and things all day long to each other and check in with each other. And so that's been pretty fun. But even that makes me feel that I am, connecting with my great aunt and my grandma every single day, just even if it's just
I
sending
love that.
messages.
I think
Oh,
that's important, Sadie. Oh,
mhm,
sorry. In the chat, it says
mhm.
parents live out of state, so we FaceTime a few times a week in the evening. That is just golden when you have those times to connect. And thank goodness for technology that we can do that. We garden and do yard work together. I love that. Sadie, do you want to read the rest in the chat?
Yes, we have. My son and I game together and watch a daily dose of internet twice a week together. That sounds fun. We have visiting extended family regularly. We also have group chats. I get a joke of the day every day from my daughter.
That's so great. I love that you guys are doing that. And it's like the slide says, it's not so much what you do, just do it together. Finding ways to connect, um, just it really does it makes all the difference. And then the last one in Power 9 is the right tribe. So the world's longest lived people have close friends and strong social network. And just like Sadie was saying about the individuals who live in um, Japan, um, research shows that you really only need 5 meaningful relationships to bring feelings of fulfillment and contentment and purpose into your life. And these individuals within blue zones, they have such tight-knit communities that socialize frequently, and they build this, um, Okinawas build this moai, which means they're groups of 5 friends that commit to each other for life. So like I was saying, those 5 individuals, to provide you with purpose and meaning, they've committed to each other within this community. So they always have each other's backs. And I think we can learn a little bit about that. I mean, we do that with our family members, I feel like, there are ride or dies, but we also can have such close, tight-knit friendships, that we can always be there for each other no matter what. They know, and you know that you're there for each other. And research from the Framingham study shows that smoking, obesity, happiness, and even loneliness are contagious. So assessing who you hang out with, who you spend the most time with, and then proactively surrounding yourself with the right people, the right friends, the right community will do more to add years to your lifespan than just about anything else. So it's who you surround yourself with. And Corey says, your vibe attracts your tribe. And I could not agree with that more. Because it's true. If you want to surround yourself with good people who are giving back, and you are doing, like, you will do the same thing, And I even feel that way with the individuals that I work with. I've learned so much from just observing and learning from them that I want to be more like them. So it's really cool to surround yourself with people who have the same commonality and purpose, because at the end of the day, those relationships are what matter the very most. Sadie, do you want to add anything to the right tribe?
I wanted to talk about the Power Nine as a whole. So we've talked about, for the last month and a half that in the US, we really put our focus in health on physical health. We tend to put our focus on exercise and nutrition. But with these areas that have the longest, or people living the longest in the world, that out of the Power Nine, only 2 of them, right? We had moving naturally, we had the plant stand, right? And the rest have to do more with our mental well-being and our social well-being and our purpose. And so there's spiritual wellness into that. And so they focus on all the dimensions of wellness rather than just physical. And I think that was the biggest lesson that I took away from the Blue Zone research, and I hope you do too. So when it comes to improving your health, we're not just putting all of our eggs in one basket when it comes to wellness.
I love that, Sadie. Thank you for highlighting that point, especially because there's so much more to life than just what's on our plate and how many activity minutes we got in a week.
Hmm.
It's about connecting with others. We're more than just our bodies, right? And our bodies are instruments, and it's so incredible that we can connect with other people. There's purpose, there's connection, and like you said, Sadie, they focus on all the different dimensions of wellness, um, but rather than just having the sole focus on our physical health. But the physical health is a byproduct of moving and eating for fuel, and surrounding yourself with people that you love and that push you to be a better person. So it's really cool. And the next thing we want to talk about is our wellness resources. So um, we every month we come out with a new Wellcast episode. That's Healthy Lifestyles Podcast. And we talk all about different dimensions of wellness. And so I think we should do a podcast all on blue zones, Sadie, because you're like a blue zone master. So that will be fun for folks to listen to. But the Wellcast is great. And if you want to hear something else that we haven't highlighted in the Wellcast, please send us an email because we would love to broaden our horizons as well as provide information because we're so passionate about wellness, and we really just want individuals to know that they have purpose and they have connection. And the next thing we want to highlight is our Eap Services Deer Oaks, which is the county's employee assistance program. So they have such wonderful resources like free counseling, work-life balance, childcare, legal resources, and so much more. So if you or someone in your family is struggling, please look into what Deer Oaks can assist you with. And then we have our website. Healthy Lifestyles website is jam-packed with awesome resources. So whether you want more information on your financial wellness or you want more information on environmental wellness and how you can give back to the earth, check out the website. We also have things on physical health, nutrition. We have things on suicide prevention, just whatever you can think of, it is on the website. We have things for Pride, which June is Pride Month, so it's so important to look at the website if you have any questions or you want to learn more. And then last but not least, the information from today. If you want to know more about Blue Zones, go to bluezones.com because they have all sorts of information that is pertaining to how you can live longer, but have a good quality of life while you're living longer. So check that out too. And
Oh,
then,
to add to that, Jane, on
oh,
the
yeah,
bluezones.com, yeah, they have they have recipes from all of the blue zones. So that could be really fun to try. They have over 100. They also have quizzes you can take on how long you're expected to live based on your habits now, and then they give improvements for different areas. They have a happiness assessment too, and just more about these different areas. And then even in the United States, they have started incorporating the things we learn from Blue Zones into communities, and so you can learn all about that too. But I'm obsessed and I find it fascinating. But we had in the chat box someone asked to send a handout sheet with the Power 9, and I can do that. So all of you who sign in using the sign in link, I can forward you more information about Blue Zones and the Power 9.
awesome. Thanks, Sadie. And then, sorry, I was going to sneeze.
Bless
I
you.
could feel it coming on. And then our wellness book recommendations. So you can visit slcolibrary.org and you can check these out today. But any of the information that we highlighted during this Beyond Weight Loss series was inspired by More Than a Body, which is a book right here in the top left corner. It is incredible. It talks all about how your body is not just, well, your body is an instrument. It's not an ornament. And we need to express appreciation and love for what our body can do. Intuitive eating, this is all about, ditching the diet mentality and focusing on food as fuel, eating for satisfaction, moving, having gentle nutrition, and really just focusing on those hunger and fullness cues. And I have said it before, and I will say it again, intuitive eating really, truly has changed my life for the better. And then we have Blue Zones, 9 Lessons for Living Longer, which is what we talked about today. But Sadie will send out that information. Health at Every Size, this is really what Healthy Lifestyles focuses on, is health at every size. We can be healthy no matter the size of our bodies. Um, and it's all about focusing on our wellness rather than the shape of our body. Your body is not an apology workbook. This is great. It's an opportunity for you to have more of a hands-on experience when it comes to appreciating and loving and reconnecting with the purpose of your body. And we talked about the 4 agreements. This is a great book. Seriously, it's like a day read or a weekend read. So check that out too. And I don't need to go through all of these, but Atomic Habits, that's incredible too. For those of you who have not read that, it talks all about habit layering, and Brooke talked about that. But we do have a podcast on habit layering, so check that out too on our Wellcast episode.
And Jane, if I can do these last 3 because I added them to our
Oh
slides.
yeah, no, go for it.
So this is Depression is actually written by a psychiatrist that describes the people that experience depression and how we can help them and how you can help yourself from actually giving counseling to people that are going through depression. It breaks down the stigma of mental health and specifically depression and some anxiety. The Power of Moments. This is one of my favorite books, and it's all about how we can how we can channel really important moments into our lives and make them part of our day every single day so that we add more sense of purpose and meaning and excitement to our days. And then lastly, change your brain, change your life. This is all about that growth mindset and to um, how to change your perspective. And when we change our perspective, that changes our overall wellness. So these are books for each dimension of wellness that we hope. And yeah, check them all out at the library. We have some comments here. Carrie said she thinks some of these are available, including More Than a Body, as audiobooks through the Libby app, which is our Salt Lake County Library app.
And then Lynn says, thanks for the book, Rex. It looks like I have some good reading suggestions. I love the Blue Zone information.
Yes, there is a
Good. I'm so
lot.
glad you loved it.
And next month is actually Intellectual Wellness Month. Throughout June, we are going to talk about the books in your life that create lifetime learning. And you can actually earn 20 points for listening or reading a book from the Salt Lake County Library. So if you like any of these, you can also get points towards them. But it really can be any book that you like. With intellectual wellness, real fast, we're going to have a Come to Learn series, and it's all going to be about fun things. Come to learn about house plants, come to learn about men's health, or we're doing a trivia challenge too, where you can earn points and prizes. And so we just want to make it a fun month that challenges your brain and your creative thinking. But I'm sorry, we're 1 minute over time. But if you have any questions, Jane and I will stay on. Angie says the houseplant one will talk about how to not kill houseplants, right? Yes. We're going to be talking about
Hopefully.
yeah, or I guess the ways that we are killing them, which could be helpful as well. If you haven't signed in already, Trudy has put that in the chat.
Thanks for joining, you guys. And we loved talking about this with you today.
And we will have our June newsletter go out tomorrow on June 1st that gives all of the info on the Intellectual Wellness Month and the workshops that we'll be offering. So you can sign up for those tomorrow.